That's so true, Guinea. You're absolutely right. And um, amazing, the circus people actually left at right after their performance, and they slept through the night. There were people that went ahead of them to set up everything so that when they got there, everything was ready for them. So many things happens behind the scenes that, I never was aware of, that prepared people for the main event. So, there were a lot of other people in the sidelines, and you've probably heard about the I don't even remember what those different acts were that were pre-circus, but they had something pre-circus. They had the main event. They had people behind the community. So it's kind of like putting on an event today for our customers. That's really how I look at it. We have back support, we have preparation, we have people, our family taking care of us, or our employees taking care of us. There's a lot of thinking and process in the entire thing, similar to what we do today. And you're right, we have to be contortionists, we have to be trapeze artists, we have to be acrobats. We have to really be organized in our business. And oh, Mark says he wants to be an escape artist. That's cool, Mark. So when you think of other types of businesses, think of what goes on behind the scenes too, that what we see is not just what we see. I know the people, I know Jeffrey does webinars, and Roy does presentations, and Dr. Grant does presentations. Lots of us here do things. And the work that we do behind the scenes makes it so that when we are performing, it's seamless. And so that's what I think of when I think of the circus now. Totally different than what it was before I went to this location.
See, the perspective changes once you start learning more in depth about a business, a person, or anything around you. And that's the reason I tell people having that community feeling is so important. This community, my friends, Unleash Your Free Spirit, has been our dream project for Judy and I for more than 2+ years now. We just started when the pandemic started, said, what can we do to really help people think bigger, think beyond themselves, think the true entrepreneurship, the spirit of nurturing and helping them to think big and be their own business owners. So we are honored every month. Some of our friends who we know before, like Mark has been here before, Annette has been here. We love people who come back again. Haromi, wonderful. We love the support, and new friends come also to join us every month. This month we had about 116 people sign up. So you know what? I say really in my true business sense, something which is that organic, something which is really that, it has to be a value proposition. That's the reason people are coming again and again. New people are coming, joining in. 116 people signed up for today's event. Judy and I, honestly, I fold my hands and I say, I'm honored by your presence. Each one of you who's here right now, I'm honored by your light, by your presence, your wisdom, and we are here to support you any way we can. That's the way life is. And we respect your time. Speaking of that time, Judy, should we introduce our phenomenal speaker for the day today?
Absolutely. And before we actually get to the introduction, just for our new people here that may not know what's going on, sometimes Guinea and I don't either. So we're kind of on the same page, right, Guinea? No, really. Guinea and I are very transparent. When something goes wrong, I tell you, you guys are part of it too. So we don't hide much. But so how our event goes is we have a little get to know you thing that which we've just done. And then we have our guest speaker, which I'm so excited about today. It's so going to be so awesome. And then we want you to stay, because we are going to go into breakout rooms and we get to talk with each other and really get to know each other even better during our 2 breakout sessions. So please, everybody, stay on. And then afterwards, we do testimonials for your business. So we like to promote you. That's what our community is all about, is about promoting each other and supporting each other. So please stay on afterwards if you'd like to say a few words about your business and what the event meant to you today. So we want to start today with our free spirit, and Ginny and I are so happy to have you join us in this event, and every month to come back again and again and to find amazing speakers like we have today. So Ginny has the honor today of introducing our guest speaker, Roy Vella, and you're just absolutely going to love him. Ginny, take it away.
Oh, absolutely. You know what, my friends, LinkedIn has become a platform where I honestly say I play a lot these days. 2 years ago, before COVID, I did not know what LinkedIn was. Now I'm the LinkedIn queen. Why? Because I'm loving the fact that I'm coming across people whose profile I read, and I read this person's profile, Roy Vella, relentless optimist. I stopped. Next word, story doctor. I said, oh my God, I need to know this guy who's a story doctor and who's a relentless optimist. So we had a one-on-one conversation, and that 1 hour went into 2 hours. Roy and I can talk for hours because this guy, you all need to know. Besides the fact he's from Stanford, he also is a citizen of 2 countries, US and UK, but he delivers high growth, mission critical solutions. He's a solid leader, a serial innovator, and a revenue driver, one who gets the work done. So my friend, Roy is somebody you all need to know and have as your friend, because he is the one who can really make a difference, huge impact in not only your personal life, but in your business life. So without further ado, I want Roy to share his wisdom with our community, and our community to really benefit from Roy's story, since he's a story doctor. Roy, all yours.
Thanks, Ginny. I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, so I guess the I expect this to be back and forth, but I mean my story is it's somewhat of an interesting one. So I'm a born and raised inner city Brooklyn kid. I was born in, and I'm and I guess part of my story I would say is an immigrant story, right? So all 4 of my grandparents in the early 1900s in through Ellis Island, waved at the Statue of Liberty, settled in Brooklyn in areas that were where their people were. And my parents are first generation American, and my brother, my sister, and I are sort of the manifestation of the American dream at the end of the day, right? And my brother's a emergency medicine doctor. My sister's a high school math supervisor who runs math departments in 3 schools, and myself in the sort of business world and the technology world. What else to say? I mean, the the LinkedIn profile is trying to be accurate. I've always been one of these rose-colored glasses kind of guys. I see the my sister will often tell you that I'll be telling her a story, you know, laughing, and she her reaction is, so it was a disaster. And I'm like, well, yeah, we did put diesel in an unleaded engine, and it was pouring rain, and we did get a flat tire, like the elements of the story, and yet I'm like, it was fantastic. It was an experience, and we learned something, and we had fun. And actually, just this past weekend, we were out at the Cape with a dear, close family friend for many decades, helping him take out his pier. And in the process of him directing me what to do, I released the cross beam, and the entire pier fell over. He's 90. He was standing on the pier with my children. I was in the water, and the whole thing comes down. And he, like me, he now entitles that the Great Pier Collapse of 2022. And you could say, wow, that was dangerous and disastrous, and we broke the pier and blah, blah, blah. But it was an experience. It was fun. There's always something to learn from. And actually now I get to understand how to rebuild a pier because he's going to teach me, this kind of thing. So yeah, and I guess, the other thing, just to tell you about me, I 3 teenagers, as I alluded to a second ago, a freshman, a junior, and a senior. We were, as I said, I'm born and raised in inner city New York, but my 3 big footprints are the Bay Area for 12 years, then London for 12 years, and now we're outside Boston for about 5 years. And in terms of career, the story doctor stuff, I am a pretty good, I have a lot of education, but I would say probably the most valuable education was in improv and theater, which really is, people tend to think of it as comedy or entertainment or theater, but the real training is in being present, paying attention, and being in the moment, and fundamentally about storytelling. We are storytelling and digesting creatures. That's what we do. That's what we've been doing for hundreds of thousands of years or more. It's only in the last 5,000-6,000 that we really have written, a bunch of good written material. And most of our communication is about that, is about telling a story that resonates, that moves people, that gets them to feel something. I have been a paid public speaker for over a decade now, and a lot of that is not about conveying information. If I wanted to convey information, I could give you something to read. But if I want to move you, and if I want you to remember, then it's about emotion, right? And it's about telling a story that resonates with people. A lot of my work with technologists, inventors and engineers and scientists, is really about translation. It's about taking their core insight, their core innovation, and translating it into a way that moves people. I can't tell you how many times I'm talking to a scientist or whomever who's got a new company now, and I say, okay, we're in an elevator. Give me the 30-second, what's the value proposition? And 15 minutes later, I'm like, okay, stop, time out, okay. And then inevitably, the way my brain works, I go to metaphor, analogy, simile. I'm like, so it's like blah, blah, blah. And they go, oh my God, yes. From now on, I'm going to start with that. That's exactly what it's like. And normally it's like something that's normal, that a man on the street would understand, as opposed to this high, deep technology that is hard to reconcile. Yeah, Ginny, Judy, I don't know if you had questions or you wanted me to expand on any of those areas.
Well, actually, I have a question, Roy. So it looks like you kind of see things in the positive light, and the lesson that you can learn from that. That's kind of what I'm hearing, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, and I think part of that is why I'm an entrepreneur, and entrepreneurship is because challenges are opportunities, right? If something's broken or not working or is inefficient, that's immediately the definition of an opportunity, right? I mean, if everything was flowing and great, then there's really no opportunity there, right? It's only in adversity and in challenge and in inefficiency that opportunity lies.
Absolutely. Was there a time when it wasn't that way? Was there a shift for you, or was it that way? Was there an event, or was it that way all the time?
Well, I'll tell you. So not to get too personal, but when we moved from Brooklyn to so I went to high school in northern Jersey, and I moved from inner city Brooklyn, New York of the 70s and 80s into white picket fence farm, and I was playing stoop ball and they were playing soccer. I was playing basketball on a rim that didn't have a net, and they were, it was a different world. And I went into a shell for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, where I just basically spent time with my family and reading books and blah, blah, blah. I wasn't really engaged, I just felt like I was out of place. I was not in a place that I knew. And all of a sudden I saw a movie. I'll never forget this, actually. I saw a movie where the main characters were my year in high school. This was in the end of my junior year. They were juniors and seniors in high school. And all this stuff was going on. And I was like, oh my God, I am missing out. I'm not participating. I'm not engaging. I'm sitting in the back of the room. And so literally the next year, I just said yes to everything. You want to try out for the play? Yes. You want to try out for the baseball team? Yes. You want to, it didn't matter what it was, what club, I just joined everything. And I had a bunch of people say, so when did you transfer to the school? I'm like, no, I've been here, but I've been in the back. I've been in the background, not participating. And I just decided life's too short. No, you gotta, and what's the worst that can happen is you are where you were. Right? The worst, the most detrimental outcome of trying anything is basically the status quo. It's basically staying where you are. And I'll say from that turning point, I just became a mass experimenter. My wife likes to joke around that I know enough to be dangerous in almost everything. Right? And when you look at my and it's true, I became an EMT. I worked on a rescue squad. You call the ambulance and I would show up, which is a little scary. I get that. But I was a trained, medical technician, emergency medical technician. And what I'll do is I'll learn something to the point where I go, okay, I get that. Am I an expert? No, but I'm pretty good. I'm good enough. And if you look at my background, that's totally true. I've got my level 1 of skydiving. I get how skydiving works. I got my advanced scuba. Get how scuba works. I got my pilot's license. I go out and I am eager to learn, and it is that sort of relentless optimist thing, but it goes back to junior year in high school where I was like, I'm missing out. I'm not participating. And actually that's a fundamental tenet of improv, is the whole yes and. Instead of no but, it's yes and. It is a positive response, and it builds on that response. That's the whole structure. I don't normally tell people that about high school, but that is what occurred. And it was amusing, having people asking me when I transferred to the school, because I had been at the school, right? I wasn't new. I just changed my attitude, which is a fundamental thing, right? Attitude is everything at the end of the day. How you approach anything, and it's also a question of how you enjoy life or not, right? Yeah, that's
Thank you for sharing. Oh.
Judy, what a great question. And Roy, yes and a yes and a yes.
And
yeah.
Yes, and
We love that answer. And the reality is that's what it is for all of us. And we are honored that you all said yes to come and join our community today and spend your hour with us. And we are grateful for that. Hope you will continue saying yes to everything around you, and yes, evolve yourself just like Roy did. He finally joined the high school there.
But Jenny, you've been inviting me to this meeting for probably about 6 months at
Yes.
least. And Judy, hi, Howard. It's been good to see you. Roy, I had the opposite upbringing. I grew up in a town in Nebraska where I graduated fifth in my high school class and didn't make the top 30%. You know, we're out in the middle of nowhere. But I find it interesting how our paths have now intersected because it's what I do also. You know, I'm a storyteller, and, you know, Jenny and I have become great friends over the years, and Judy, watching you guys. And today I'm actually home watching my 3-year-old grandson. He's taking a nap, and I'm like, oh, we got this thing going. In your transition, I really enjoyed you talking about that transition piece. Was there a moment where you went from not doing enough to doing too much? And then how did you start to organize that to doing the right things?
Sure. Yeah, you know, so you're coming down to a couple of my sort of fundamental beliefs. So one is, if you want something done, ask a busy person. So a busy person, and the crux of that is that English is a very interesting language. We have two different ways of saying something that's similar but not the same. We say find time and make time. And I tell people all the time, if you can't find time for something, it's because you don't want to make it. We are time producers. You will make as much time as you need to do what you want to do. If you can't, quote, find time, it's not that important. It's simply not a priority of yours. Because as time producers, you can make as much time as you need to get done what you need to get done. And if this concept of like, oh, I just can't find the time, yeah, that's a message to yourself that it's not so important for you. You know, I've got a buddy who I call him the eternal hobbyist. This guy, he is making musical instruments, he's building boats, he's knitting sweaters. He's got a full-time job in technology, but like, he makes time for stuff that gets him excited, and you know, and he's out surfing, and like, you look at a bunch of his hobbies and you look at them individually and you're like, holy crap, like how, like, does he ever sleep? Well, he just makes the time for what's important to him. And maybe he's not wasting time, you know, watching a television show or doing other things. Like when he fills his time, it's with stuff that he is important, you know. And so the answer is that prioritization and being overcommitted. It happens, you know, but it's again, it's that kind of ruthless prioritization and making the time for it. You know, I have Ginny knows this. I have a policy on LinkedIn. People approach me cold on LinkedIn, and I happen to know the founder of LinkedIn from back in the day. And he always said, quality over quantity. Don't connect to people you don't know. You can't help them. They can't help you. What's the point? On the flip side, that's not how I was raised. Like if someone approaches me, I'm not going to ignore them. Like that seems rude, you know? And so I always reply back like, happy to connect, but let's have a conversation first so I understand a little bit about you, you know, and see if I can help. And it's about 80-20, about 80% of the people say, yeah, I'd love to have a chat. That's why I reached out. 20% you never hear from again, which, you know, that's a decision that they made. That's fine. And often in those conversations, the little intros, 15 minutes, half hour, people say, how do you find time to have all these conversations? And I'm like, well, I don't. I make it. You know, like if someone reached out to me, they had something important, they wanted to connect, I want to hear it. And again, it's the same ethos. Like, do I have the time for that? No, I don't have it, but I'll make it. Again, the English language is a very interesting thing, right? If you think about the way we phrase that, I think it's really interesting. So I hope that answered your question, Tim. I don't know, that I riffed a little bit there.
Dr. Kirsten?
Roy, you are so spot on with your approach about actually having a 15-minute to 30-minute conversation with people on LinkedIn. I cannot applaud you enough. You won me over just with that. I have found when I connect with people, my policy is always, let's just have a brief conversation. What pet projects do you have going on? Because something that you've been struggling with and wrestling with for 3 months might be something that's my typical Tuesday, especially as a business owner. And I'm grateful to connect either way. But from what I've learned, it's about building relationships. I'm not here to boost my follower count. I can boost my follower count artificially. I can boost my follower count while I'm sleeping. That's not why I'm here. And like you, I had the same experience. I've had surgeons, prolific bariatric surgeons, sit there and tell me and write a very long paragraph about the reason why they couldn't connect and have a conversation. I'm like, the time it took for you to type out this paragraph,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
could have had a physical conversation with me already. You wrote a mini novel.
Yeah. 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 No,
Excellent.
totally.
I think
And
that's the
think
reason we are all here, right? It's
Yeah.
all about relationships. It's
And I
all
also
about
think-
conversations. It's all about respecting your time
Yeah.
and my time. Because if I look at you as my whole complete world in oneness, I will bow to you and your presence. And that's what counts in the end, my friend. And thank you. We are honored by your presence and the fact that you have chosen to spend your hour with us. And most of us have had one-on-one conversation. If not, Judy and I are always open to anybody and everybody to have a real conversation where we want to see how we can support you, how we can help you. What can we do to propel your personal life and your business? Honestly, that's the whole name of this game. Unleash your free spirit. Free spirit. Let's be free. Let's have jolly moments. Let's bring everybody up together as much as we can. And thank you. We are honored. Judy, are you ready to make us fly?
Well,